Hi, I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jared.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you with fresh new life. Jared, how are you?
Good. I've had a good few days. Have you ever dropped your pen in the car?
Oh gosh,
That's the
that's so
worst.
annoying.
That's the worst. And it always lands in that spot where you can't get your hand in. I got big hands, so maybe it's just a me thing, but it just seems to land in that crevice of the car seat between the car seat and the I don't know, the middle console, and you got to like dig, and you pretty much got to get out, pull the seat forward, dig your hand under there to find this
Yeah, what you've
black
got to do,
hole
Jared, is
that the
stop
pen
your
fell
car on
into.
the M2. You need to put on your hazards. You need to get out of the
Yeah.
car and get it out. That's what I do
And
anyway.
find your felt tip pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst. It's the worst first world problem I've ever dealt with for a while. It's yeah, no, other than random pens going into the black hole of the car, it's all good. But yeah, no, I'll ask you how you're going later, but we met up, mate. We had a bit of a. I got to see you in person, ask you how you're going there. So we met up and with a couple of friends of ours and went out to dinner. It was awesome, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable. The four of us haven't been together in forever, essentially,
Yep.
in the same
Yep.
room, and we had an awesome night.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was really positive, and I'm already looking forward to the next one. It was really good to have just old friends and it felt like there was no time in between. Like
Yeah.
I know there was, and we all knew there was, and they were all going through life and everything that comes with it. And but it was just awesome to sit down and just chat, and you could have spent hours doing it. And it was great.
Yeah, I think the great thing was the chemistry hadn't changed at all.
Yeah.
We were all able to riff with one another. It was just like high school again. It was amazing.
I think it's therapeutic, to a certain degree, like it's, you can get back into that space where, yeah, we were all pretty happy in high school, and there was that sort of like we didn't have all the concerns of life and all the responsibilities of life. We just had, this space where we just had to turn up and sit in the classroom and listen to people, but we made friends out of that, and it's really nice to go back into that space a little bit. It's relaxing and therapeutic, I reckon, among other
Definitely.
things.
Yeah, it was amazing. And yeah, we'll definitely need to do it again. I think if we just make it a
Mm.
regular thing, even once every 3 months, once every 4 months, three a year would be great.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, 3 a year or 4 a year from nothing is pretty good. So,
Yeah.
that's a massive increase. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Pumped for it. It was really awesome. So other than that, I got to, like I said, I got to see you. But how are you, buddy? How are you since I last saw you?
Yeah, great, actually. And as I said in the intro, coming to you with new life. So I started a business
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
it's been really rewarding. So I'm now doing support work as a community support worker with people with disabilities, and I'm doing it independently. So I've had a couple of awesome clients. I had a really, really good time. Obviously, I can't go into it for confidentiality reasons, but
Mm.
I'm really, really enjoying myself. And it's so good being out there in the community with new people.
Yep. Yeah, that's you can tell. I can tell after obviously seeing you, and then I can tell that you're very very happy with the move and excited. So you get it's coming. It's you're glowing.
Yeah, that's just the lamp I've
That's
got
all.
on.
That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, it's good. It's really good and really positive, and yeah, really happy for you.
Thanks, mate. So we had a great time the other night, and it really showed me how privileged you are to have a good friendship, just one,
Yep.
but to have a friendship like that with three other people, it's almost a miracle. It's really hard to have a friendship circle, a friendship group, whatever you want to call it. But to have such a wholesome bunch of guys who are honest, who have good values, who are easy to get on with, no egos in the room either. There was no
Mm.
competitiveness against anybody.
Yeah.
It was just four guys having a really good time, and four guys who knew how to listen to one another too, which is pretty rare. And it got me thinking
Uh,
about how important it is to be able to navigate a dynamic, a group dynamic, a
mm.
social dynamic of any sort, and how tough it might be for our kids to have friends.
It's not an easy thing to do. You see adults struggle with it, And not saying that we're experts at it. It's a really tough thing to do. It's a learning thing that you learn constantly throughout your life. The different personalities that you run into, you have to, I guess, manage. And if it's in a group situation, it can be challenging. And look, like you said with the kids, I mean, they're learning from scratch. Their first interaction with friends is essentially the people that we know who have kids their age,
Yeah.
or close to their age. So they get invited to little 1-year-old birthday parties. And for me, I was still sort of running around playing football. So, all the kids that were there, they're their friends at that time, and that's their first interaction with other kids sort of that age. And yeah, it's other than their family, and it's interesting because they get put in that spot, and if they if they struggle or if they don't like the situation, it's hard for a kid at that age to verbalize that as well as know what to actually do. So from a young age, we're always in that situation, I think.
Yeah. And they had no choice in that, of course. They're just
No.
thrust into that situation. And then they're
Yep.
2 when they have the same social circle because they still don't have any choice, and 3 and 4.
Yep.
And it's only around when they get to maybe 5 or 6 or they hit that school age
Yep.
that they've got a little bit of choice. But even then, it's hard when you've got your friends' kids coming over and your kids didn't choose any of that. And I've noticed this in my own life where our kids and our friends' kids might not actually be a match.
It's definitely something that I haven't given much thought to other than, quite recently, because it's a perfect world. I mean, you're friends with these people, as for however long you've been friends. And in the perfect world where, oh, well, our kids are going to be friends and we're all going to be friends forever. And, how great's this and all this sort of stuff. But, like our kids have got their own personalities and choices. And like you said, from some around that preschool, like if you send your kid to preschool maybe a year before you go to school, they start interacting with all these other kids, and you see these other parents and how they do things. And like I said, they get a bit of a choice. And then all of a sudden they want to go, and as they're going into kindergarten, year 1, 2, they're turning into 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. They're really, really got their own little friend group now. So yeah, it's something that I'm starting to become a little bit aware of, and I want to make sure that I enjoy myself when my friends come over, but I also want that my kids to enjoy that. And yeah, not saying that, like, for me, like, we're in a lucky situation, like our girls seem to get along with everybody. There's always going to be that little bit of a, like if you're bringing someone if you're going to someone's house, and your kids, will see toys and play with things, and if they're like, if the other kids, that's their domain, and it's a shock to the system, like I don't know if we've said this on the show, but imagine someone coming into your house and just going through all your stuff. Like I find that that would be quite confronting. And I think all of a sudden, you just thrust your 2 kids into a house and then they start going through all the toys of this other kid, and going through their drawers and looking at like all this stuff. And I reckon that it's quite a a daunting sort of concept, really.
For sure. And imagine someone telling you, Jared, that you're in the wrong for not letting someone do that.
Yeah.
Like if
just share your stuff.
If you had a house party and some guy just came in and you hadn't met before, maybe he's the husband of one of your partner's friends, and he just starts going through your toolbox, going, "Oh, what's this?" And you're like, "Hey, mate, can you not touch those?" But then you're the bad
someone
guy.
tells you to share.
Yeah.
It's not realistic, is it?
No.
When you think of it that way. And I can see why kids, we sort of put it down to, the kids are getting tired, they're starting to get a little bit, but you can see why that happens, because you sort of realize it. You sort of go, and the parents sort of get together, and we have dinner or we have a chat, we have like something, and then I'll go off and play.
Exactly.
It's sort of like an hour and a half later, and it's like, we better have dinner. So we all come together, and it's like, what have you been doing for the hour and a half? So they're actually getting social skills and learning how to deal with situations, which is a good thing, right? It's in a protected environment. They're in their house, or their parents are close by. Nothing's going to get too out of hand, but it teaches a little bit of social skills, I think. We're not. Well, it's hard. It's hard because it's like saying, well, we don't force you to play with them, but we kind of do. you're in that situation. But it's one of those things that, we're not all going to be in a situation that we're overly happy with in life. Like, there's going to be times when you're around people that, as adults, that you're not going to be fond of. So it's teaching you how to, navigate some situations that might arise later.
Yeah. Look, but how are we teaching them to deal with those situations? We're teaching them to just sit there and cop it. It's like, you actually don't have a choice sometimes in life, and you've just got to sit there and smile and pretend. That can be the message too. And I don't want to get too negative, but that can be what we're sending them. Now, if your partner had a friend who brought over her husband who was a total pork chop, and your wife went off and hung out with her friend for a cuppa outside, and you were left in your lounge room with him and expected to play with him for an hour and a half, Jared, how would you cope with that? And let's think about all the social skills you've learned over the years, and you've got many more than your daughters. How would you cope with that? And I can think of certain pork chops that I know. I'd be like, I'll just be like, I'm out of here. I'll just run. That's all I can do.
I guess for me, like, I look at, I like you said, my skill set is a lot higher than hopefully than a child's.
But wait, just stop for a second. I want you to think of the worst possible guy that could come over and sit there in the lounge room. The worst. Okay, what would you do?
Okay, the worst kind of pork chop. Okay, me personally, I'm sitting here now without a pork chop in the lounge room, but I guess I would grin and bear it, like I'd be looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, because essentially, they're not going to be there forever. But I'd have to have a debrief after and explain, why I had a bad time. But, like, I'd look at it like, okay, this is my wife's partner's, whatever's friends, whatever this person is, means a bit to, my other half. So I'd look at it like, okay, this situation I have to manage, like, in all seriousness, you can't choose who people hang out with and who people decide to sort of shack up with. So you've just got to look at the situation. Okay, is this worth this pain, I guess? I don't know. But if someone comes in and just starts, wrecking your house, like, that's a different story, Like, I suppose there's levels of pork chop that, like, if it's someone who's, a little bit out there, but not really doing something antisocial, I guess I can deal with it. But yeah, it's a tough question, and it's a hard one. You said you'd run. I mean, I don't know how I'd go if I don't know how I don't know how I'd go if, I don't know. Like, I don't like awkward situations, so I guess I'd just grin and bear it.
Exactly. You just summed it up. You don't like awkward situations, yet we force our children into them all the time. And I guess I wanted this to be an exercise in empathy for you and all our listeners, that we force kids to do things that we would never cop ourselves. And I wouldn't want to put myself in that situation where I've got someone really annoying coming over. Now, if that was the first time I met the person and then I caught on to it, and I was like, oh, crap. And if it happened again, I'd be like, that's fine. You can bring this guy over, but I won't be here because I can't bear to be in that room. Yeah. And it's saying yes to yourself, not just saying no to another person, but that's an hour and a half of your life or whatever it is. It could be longer than that.
Yeah.
So we've all been in painful situations, haven't we? Now, I want to share a situation that I have been in, and it was with an awesome friend. Now, his child and my child didn't get on. There was some conflict. We went to a place and everything seemed like it was fantastic. It was an idyllic location, a water-based location. Anyway, this child pushed my child off a pier into the water. And
straight to the air.
Yeah, so this child thought, and I'm just guessing, that it was just, kids mucking around.
Yeah.
But they didn't really know each other. They'd met once before many years ago, or twice before many years ago. Essentially, it was their first meeting at this age. And I wouldn't do that to someone I've just met. If you just introduced me, hey, this is my mate Tom. Hey, Tom, and push him off a pier. How do you think that would go?
It's a gamble. Yeah.
Yeah, social skills 101, don't push people off piers. And my son had just started jumping off that pier that week. So it was a bit of a
Yep.
big deal for him to even go from that height into the water. Anyway, so that was a huge thing. And he was very upset by that. And
Yep.
it caused a lot of conflict. So I don't know where that's going to go in the future, but
Yep.
it's established now that that person is an enemy in a way. And we can say as adults with our adult perspective, oh, it's just kids mucking around. And it is, but let's imagine that it happened to us. And like I said, that would be really strange if your mate, Tom, your hypothetical friend, did that to me, or if one of my mates did that to you, you'd be like, what the hell is that for? And you could get over it, but straight away you'd be like, this guy's pretty obnoxious to be doing that. Yeah. Now, as adults, we're looking down at... Yeah. Now, as adults, we're looking at these kids going, but it's just mucking around. And it is. I totally have nothing against this person. But from my son's perspective, he doesn't see it that way. So I get it too. So I feel like there's no bad guy in this. It's just what happened. And unfortunately, it's caused a bit of a rift, and it's going to be hard to socialize now.
I guess it's a teachable moment. Like if someone was to do that to me, after the initial shock of what the hell, I then go through those emotions. Like personally for me, I'd be like, okay, was that just a joke? Was that serious? Was that, like, as an adult, I'm going through my, like, oh, okay. And then I wouldn't come up swinging. Like I'd be like, okay, let's find out what that was about. If it turns out that the person is just a jerk and like, then you can make your decision. Okay, I've got evidence to not see this person again. Or if the person's like, oh, hey, sorry, I was just having a joke. And if you as a person can go, oh, they were, but also then set the boundary of like, hey, dude, how about you don't push me in again? But that's as an adult, right? We can sort of, do that. If he then continues to push me in or be a bit of a jerk like that, then you can make that decision, I'm not going to hang out with that person anymore. Or I gave them the chance to, essentially say sorry or at least stop doing what they were doing. But as an adult teaching a child or as a parent, we want to give our children the chance to come up like with that as well, like to actually work through that. So you said there, and you said it in jest, just like, like to my child, this person's now an enemy, like, so I think maybe as a parent, if I felt that my child felt like that, I'd be suggesting, okay, we need to look at how we can, make that person, like, you have the right to think of that person as that, but we also want to dial it back and see if it was just, like, go through the processes and teach them how to go through the processes I just explained.
Yeah.
And I think and if it still comes out that the person is, sorry, then that's cool. But they've done everything that of how to deal with that situation. So as adults, we can say, oh yeah, that's kids just mucking around and having a laugh. We've got to teach that to our kids. Sometimes people tell jokes or do things that they don't mean in malice. It's just, it's just they've misread the room or misread the situation. Adults do that, and then, so I don't know. It's just, I think it's a bit of a teachable moment. What happens after that is completely up to your child,
Yeah.
And how they understand it. Now, I'm a forgiving person, so I probably would be pushed in 5 times before I got angry. But yeah, some people get pushed in once and go off the handle. So it's just one of those things that you just have to, I think, teach your kids and help guide them through those emotions.
Yeah, trust me, I've tried. It's but some things are a bit raw. Yeah, look, I think a lot of things just take time, and it takes a bit of maturity. Yeah. So maybe let's just say something happens when you're 12. By the time you hit puberty, that's kind of like a whole age away because you're essentially an adult now, and that happened in a totally different era. Whereas if something happens when you're 8 and then you hit 10, it's still as a child. You're still a very young person, so it's still raw.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm not thinking, oh, this is completely over now. This is it. They'll never, ever be friends. No. But for now, it's awkward. Yeah. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean that's on, that's on the person to work out how they're going to move forward, like I said. And I think we give our kids the opportunity to think for themselves, and I guess it's just respecting their wishes
Yeah.
to a certain degree.
And also, I think it's good for our kids to be able to say, look, these are my standards. I don't accept
Mm.
anything less than this. And I think that's fine too. Rather than saying, oh, look, just give everyone a go. Well, we can't be friends with everyone. I'm not saying to be mean to
No,
people or to be a snob in
no.
any way. I'm just saying there's only 24 hours in a day. I got to see
Mm.
you and two other of our best friends once in however many years.
Yep.
We've got to be selective.
It's not realistic to go, let's all be friends. Like it's sad. I wish you wish you could, but there's people I've met along the way that I'm like, oh man, we'd be pretty good friends, or we would be able to, yeah. But just like you said, there's only 24 hours in a day, and everyone's their first priority isn't becoming a friend with you. Like like it's a matter of just being able to juggle. And like I said, we haven't seen each other for so long, and to be able to do that was really good. But it's, I can't see the foreseeable future. It's like, oh, when's the next time? Oh, maybe in 4 months, 5 months. Like
Yeah,
it's all about the juggle, and you can't be friends with everyone. Unfortunately, I wish, but
yeah,
it's not realistic.
exactly. And there's certain relationships in our lives that we really have to invest in. And you think
Yeah.
about the ones with our parents, and, we've got limited time with
Mm.
them. So I just think that let's be very realistic and also have empathy for our kids and know that, hey, they really get to choose. And this is a really good learning experience for them too, to say, I'm going to hang around with these sorts of people that I like, not what other
Yeah.
people tell me to do.
I found, from my experience, and I know you mentioned this way back in our first episode, so it's been a long time ago, but I do listen, so I remembered. But like when we put our kids into school, it's you're putting them into a space with X amount of kids, and half of those kids are girls, half of those kids are boys if it's co-ed. Um, then not that matters, but just some kids are sort of hang around just girls if they're a girl, or just boys if they're boys, and but so you're sort of limiting their outlook on life to the certain, like they're limiting their space of, okay, you can make friends in this space. Like
Hmm.
that really stood out to me when you said that. But in saying that, they do find a group or a couple of kids or a kid that they just connect with because they're in that same space. I mean, I know you could probably argue and say, well, they're making the best of the situation or whatever, just naturally, but
That did come to mind.
realistically, yeah, I could see your face. I can read you now. But yeah, like, but in that situation, they're finding, a happy space, with the friends, and they're really, like, I don't know, my kids are now, like you said, they're really picking their friends. Like they're not
Hmm.
just walking around playing with, like they're actually seeking out those kids in the playground and things like that. So that's really nice to watch them do that on their own, with their own abilities, without any kind of influence from us, other than putting them in that space. But like the way that I look at it, I haven't got time to homeschool, and I'm not going to I'm not going to be able to do that. So this is the next thing that has to be done, and they have to be put in a space to be schooled, and part of that is becoming, being around other kids, and then picking your friends. So it's
Yeah.
really nice to see that. And I know I went to a school. Oh, what do you call it? Like just a family night they ran.
Hmm. Yeah.
They had a bit of a disco thing going for the kids, and some food and stuff at the school. And I just found it amazing because the kids were so comfortable in their
Yeah.
space,
That's great.
and they just, I'm watching them interact. Like it was just awesome. It was just really awesome to see them, field kids coming towards them, and gravitate to the kids they want. It was just really good, really nice. So I lost them for a little while because I was on my own, because my wife was busy. But yeah, I lost them for a while, and I'm like, oh, I can't see my kids. There's, but you end up finding them, and yeah, it was good. It was really good to see him in that environment.
That's brilliant. And I'm really happy for that. And I'm certainly not anti-school at all. I really want to make that
No.
clear as well. I loved school. I got a lot out of school. So
Hmm.
it's definitely not something I'm ideologically opposed to. It's really just how
Yep.
things have happened for our family and what my kids have chosen to
Yeah.
do. But
Yep.
I've said before as well that I don't have heaps of friends. I've got
Mm.
a lot of great people here and there. I don't have this big social group where it's like, let's meet up with 20 of us. You know, I've seen people
Mm.
go off to the races or whatever it is, where there's a huge group of
Yeah.
people, and good on them. You know, there's certainly no envy on my part, but I'm really happy with what I've got. So to meet up with the tiny group that we did the other night, I had coffee with listener zero the other day, Sophia. It was her shout too. So thanks for that, Sophia. So things like that, just the little meetings here and there. I just want to
Yeah.
give another example. One of our listeners, actually, his family comes over to my place once every school holiday. So we try our best to see them 4 times a year. And they're very close to us. We love them dearly. And his sister sometimes just comes over and reads a book. So she doesn't feel like mixing with all of us. She's just happy to just be quiet and just read a book. And
Yep.
I love that. And I hope that she respects that there's never any pressure on her, that we understand her. And then we're like, oh, cool. You know, she just likes doing that. And I don't feel like anyone should ever be obligated to do anything. I'm a big advocate of freedom. And when I say freedom, I don't mean you're free to be like me. A lot of people, that's what they mean when they talk about freedom. They're like, you can be exactly like me and have my values. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. That's what freedom looks like. To me, it's people can do whatever they want in whatever situation. So I'm fine with someone coming over and just, hey man, and just opening their book and reading it. Because who says they wanted to socialize? You know, it was their family's idea to come over, not theirs.
Yep. Yep. It's actually quite, but in saying that, like, oh, is this someone that's choosing to come over? Or are they in the?
Well, they're part
like,
of the
are they getting
family.
driven there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but is she old enough to stay home, like on her own and read, or did she?
Yeah,
like
she probably would. She probably could.
Yeah,
but I guess she probably wants to come over for a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like she's choosing to come over and read the book there. Like she could read the book outside, or she could read the book in her house or in her front yard or whatever. You know, like it's actually the fact that she's chosen to come over there and read, even though it's her reading the book, it's still she's chosen to be there. If that makes sense.
She still wants to be around us, which is nice.
That's nice for you. Yeah,
for sure. And there's only so much that, you know, kids can talk about sometimes, and then they kind of like drift off and they might check their phones or whatever it is. To me, that's fine. You know, do whatever you want, because us adults, we're the ones that organize this meeting.
Yeah.
So Jared, look, socializing is a minefield. It's a huge learning curve for adults as well as children. So I certainly don't expect our kids to be able to navigate everything straight away and know what to do in every situation, because I certainly don't. And I'm still learning so much myself.
Well, I agree. And I'll just say this tiny little bit. Socializing is an endless thing, I think. Learning how to be social is an endless thing. I went and voted the other week, and I watched these, like, because the place I went to was run by people that were quite elderly.
Yep.
And, you know, it was run like a tight ship. You know? Everyone was standing in their lines, and, you know, but I tell you what, the way that they socialized was very eye-opening. And like some old guy came over, and he's like, someone was like, I don't know, a meter in front of where they're supposed to be standing, and he comes over and tells off the other older lady.
Oh gosh,
they shouldn't be standing there. And then she's like, okay, no worries. And then she tells us to move back. If he tells me that line again, I'm going to go and shove this. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know, so I think social skills is a learning thing that I think it's never ending. I think you're always, and I think there's an age where you can go, yep, I've got this covered. I think all the different personalities is going to throw you a curveball. If you think you've got it covered, I don't think you do. I think continue learning. I think that's what I would suggest.
Exactly. Continue learning. And Jared, I always remember something you said when I asked you what your next stage of growth was, and you said it was empathy. So through empathy, I think we'll understand our kids so much better, understand ourselves so much better, and be able to grow and develop our social skills so much more.
Totally agree.
Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please follow us on all of our socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that sort of stuff, and get in contact with us. Don't be shy. Drop us a line and say hello. Thank you.
See you, mate.